Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. Every time I tell you who I am, by now you should know me. And you also should know that this is the day that's been given to you. Yesterday doesn't matter. Tomorrow's not here yet. So you're in the now. So live for right now. You know this is the billionaire lifestyle, which is not about money. Because there was a man, there was a woman. They got together, they had some fun, and they fell in some kind of love situation. They shared some material. You came out of that because when those two pieces from those individuals met, the cosmic energy from the heaven gave it its power to dance. And 30 days later, which is 2 to the power of 30, you were a billion cells. So you're already a billionaire. So get to living. Today, my guest is Joyce Field, author Joyce Field. Joyce Field. Now, this is what's so cool about this, because we met online and I just discovered that we're from and honed from the same place, which is Detroit, Michigan. Joyce, how are you?
I typically answer that question with too blessed to be stressed.
Now you've written,
because we all are.
Yeah, you've written a lot of books, and this is what I really like about your book. So I'm just going to go through some of the titles for everyone, and the ones that struck me are very poignant today, which is telling kids that they can make the world a better place, and Mother's Dozen, and the best way to keep a man is to let him go.
Among other things. Add that to the title.
Among other things. Let's go back to the start though. So What got you into the literary passion, which is writing books?
Well, when I learned how to read in school, obviously, so I just absolutely loved reading ever since I learned. So when I would be sitting at the breakfast table, eating a bowl of cereal with the cereal box in front of me. I would read every single word, top, bottom, front, sides, back, everything. Every word that was printed on that box, I read it. I used to read matchbook covers. So I didn't realize that God had given me a love for reading, and that was teaching me how to write. I didn't know that I was learning how to write, and I didn't write. I was born in 1944. So this was probably around 1949 or 50. I was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I didn't write my first book until I was 1997. I don't know how old I was. Math is not my strong suit. English is. Okay. Right. So, but I didn't write my first book till 1997. But I did write some other things. So in 1982, I wrote an article for the Office magazine. It's now defunct. There is no more Office magazine.
Yeah.
At that time, I was the supervisor of word processing for Detroit Edison.
DTE.
Yeah, DTE. And this was the first word processing center that they had implemented. So I had to create it, design it, hire all the people for it, everything, the whole shop. And I did it. And then I wrote about the word processing experience, and the Office magazine they had a contest. I didn't win the contest, but they gave me $100 and printed my article verbatim. So that was, I thought, God's way of telling me that my writing was worthy of publication.
So this is kind of a second life for you. You know, you go through life thinking, hey, I got this thing that I'm doing. And all of a sudden life reveals, and that is part of the billionaire lifestyle. Like it's about the experience. What you are today doesn't dictate what you are tomorrow.
You got that right. That's the truth. And more people should realize that. I hope that more people will.
So what was your first book? What was actually?
Line of Serenity.
Line of Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about?
That's a very good question. So now, Emmett, in 1996 or 97, I had finished the manuscript because I wanted to write a story about the way that we were raised. I'm the oldest of 7, and I'm 75. My youngest sibling is 66. It's a sister. She's 66. Unfortunately, our oldest brother died in 2013. He had stage 4 lung cancer. But he was my hero because when we were little, he saved me from the boys that wanted to fight me and stuff, So,
yeah.
But I wasn't mean, so I don't know why he wanted to fight me, that little boy who did fight me. But my brother started hitting him, and then he got off of me and went to chase my brother. So he's my hero. But at any rate, getting back to the Line of Serenity. And my brother that passed was my husband's best friend. My husband and I have been together for 62 years since we were 13 years old.
And that's rare nowadays.
Yes, it is. I understand that. Well, it's a struggle. It's hard work. But I had finished the manuscript, and he knows my family extremely well. He adored my parents. And so he said to me, all of y'all have that line of serenity running through you. And that the light bulb came on, and that was the name of the book, Line of Serenity. And the first 23 pages, he describes what he sees as this line of serenity running through each one of us, my parents and all of my siblings. And then I go on to write the story of how we were raised.
So was that something you extracted from him to get this kind of preface going in the book?
I don't understand the question.
So you said he said this was the line of serenity in your family.
Yes.
But you said that, this goes on to explain what he saw as the line of serenity in your family. So how did you extract that from him so that you could get it right? Or was it just from memory, from conversations you guys had?
It was just from memory because we had been together for 62 years.
Oh yeah, you knew each other.
Yeah, that's right. So we went together. We started going together in 1957. We got married in 1967. So 57 all the way to 96 or 97, he had accumulated all this knowledge about each one of us.
Yeah.
And he was able to capture the words on paper.
Oh, awesome. So from there, you did that in what year? Was that 2014?
No, when I wrote the Line of Serenity?
Yeah, when you actually published Line of Serenity?
1996.
97. So this is a re-release. I got you.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're like, okay, I got that out. Since that was your first book, many writers have the stories in them, but then to get the information out, was that an epiphany, a learning process you had? You're like, I got this book. Now what do I do with it?
No, originally, you talking about Line of Serenity again?
Yes.
Okay. Originally, I wrote Line of Serenity because I wanted all of the children of me and my siblings and their children, for the future, to know how we were raised. That's why I wrote it. And then other people read it and they said, you ought to publish this. So I published it. And I don't even remember. I think that it's the copyright is 1996 or 97.
Got you.
So then I published that one. And then it was that was in 1997. 2003 is when I wrote my next book.
And which book was that?
Mother's Dozen, an easy recipe for raising great kids.
So what made you say it's time for me to write another book? And because the first one, you basically wrote it for your family.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people began to get wind of it and say, hey, this needs to go further than just your family. It could use, it could provide a lot of good for other people.
Yes.
And it seems like you're staying in the vein of family and doing really good work. What made the next book come out of you?
What made it come out of me was watching these young girls, mothers, making a mess of their children.
And what? You know, that's funny because I was having this conversation today with someone and I was referring to my parents were, compared to today, they would have thought my parents were from the medieval times because you had responsibility.
Yes.
You had ownership. So, you know, it was this thing, particularly being a man of color, that my parents had to raise me to be autonomous, to be able to take care of myself. Because I remember my parents saying, like, we will not always be here.
That's right.
And so at some point, you're on your own.
That's right. And the job of the parent is to raise the child to stand on his or her own 2 feet. You cannot provide for them forever. And you should never even allow them to even think that way.
But how do we get to this point? And I know you're in the book, you know, you're going from some historical reference, which would be historical today, based on how people raise their children, because everybody gets a trophy nowadays.
Yeah, I know. And getting undeserved rewards is all. Oh, man. It just blows my mind.
I remember my mom said, you better do better next time. You better do better.
Exactly. So, now the foreword was written. It's only, you know, the books are good, short books. They're short because God blessed me and my sister. She wrote one of the books. We have 11 on the website, goodshortbooks.com. But she wrote one and they're all good. And, the, Mother's Dozen, the foreword was written by Reverend Cecil Murray, he's a retired minister of Fame Church, one of the biggest churches in Los Angeles. So I submitted the manuscript to all the publishing houses and they rejected it because they said they don't accept books on raising children, except if it was written by a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a minister, or a celebrity. And I thought to myself, who wants to raise their children the way celebrities raise their children? And who can afford that anyway? So I did the next best thing. I wasn't going to church, but my cousin was. And so I sent the manuscript through email to the Reverend Murray. He read it and I asked him if he would be willing to write the foreword for it. He wrote the most amazing foreword, emailed it back to me. He called it a handbook of excellence when it comes to preparing children for the world to come. He says that the book systematizes the rules passed from generation to generation. I didn't even know that that's what it did. I just wanted to tell people, you got to teach your kid manners. You got to teach them obedience. You got to teach them patience. And all this is in the book, teaching how to teach manners. You teach manners by being mannerable to the child. How to teach patience. You make the child wait instead of handing them the cookie as soon as they say it. You make them wait. So that's how you teach patience. So the book is full of all these little tidbits on raising children.
Awesome. And you stay with the theme of family. I mean, throughout.
I do. And I didn't even notice that until you just said it, Emmett.
You know, because I'm just looking at it. It is literally, so let me go through this. So you have, is this Mother Docena?
Madre Docena. That's the Mother's Dozen.
Mother's Dozen. I couldn't think what Docena was. So that's Mother's Dozen, which is, so what's the difference? Because I got Mother's Dozen, easy recipe for raising great kids. Is this the Spanish version? Oh,
it's the same, just in Spanish.
Awesome. See, and what made you think to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to put this in a different language?
I think that the universe guided me. So I have a lot of Hispanic friends, and I used to, when I wrote this book, I worked with a lot of Hispanic people, and I passed it by, I think at least three people to go through it and then translate it into Spanish for me.
Oh, awesome. And then this is one that really interests me because I love rules, or I like rules because they're a guideline.
Yes.
You know, rules can be broken. Sometimes they have to be broken. Sometimes something changes and you have to go outside the rule. But rules are there for a specific reason. And you have the limitless golden rule. 21 ways to use the golden rule in your life.
Yes.
And the golden rule is basically treat others like you want to be treated, right?
That's exactly what it is. And you know what? It's really funny because after I had published the book, my granddaughter, who's 37 right now. When did I publish this? I published my simple quotes to live. The golden rule in 2015. And so at that time, she was like 4 years younger. But she said, Grandma, what's the golden rule? And I said, that really made me think. I said, now she lived it because I raised her to live it.
But she didn't know it.
People the way you want to be treated. I raise all my children and grandchildren, both my sons and all my grandchildren. I raise them that way. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And so that caused me to go back into the book. Now I've got the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, the first page after the title pages. So when she asked me that question, that was the universe saying, you need to put the golden rule in that book.
And it wasn't before.
No. It wasn't.
Because
what I had before though was the hold on just a second. What I had before, because I have my books over there on the table where I usually use the phone for interviews. But then what I have in here is the universality of the golden rule. So all the world religions, I list all the world's religions, and all of them have something similar to the words of the golden rule, all of them. And so I thought that since I had that in there, that would suffice. But then she said, what's the golden rule? So here's the golden rule. So this is the second page lists the golden rule. And I put 21 ways that you can use the golden rule in your life.
You know, that's it seems intuitive.
Yes.
But you know, sometimes people don't view others as they view themselves or equal. Because I've seen people who say like, you know, they do something. I say, would you want somebody to do that to you? And they was like, no. I'm like, why'd you do it to them? Mm-hmm. And they have the most puzzled look on their face. I know. It's really, see, it starts when they're little. They're like 3 and 4 and 5 years old. Yeah.
You know, you can't teach, like, it's difficult. I won't say you can't. But like a 15, 16, 17-year-old child, it's not going to be the same as when they were 3 and 4.
You know what the monks say? They say, give me your child till the age of 7, because after that, I can't really teach them. It doesn't stick. Mm-hmm. Because they're set in their ways. And I've seen this. I had this business where I did these parties for children. They were called bubble parties. Mm-hmm. And I would do this little DJ thing and have the bubble machines. And I had to make a clause. The children can be no older than 6 years and 6 months. Mm-hmm. Because they were open still.
Yes. Like
if I had a 7-year-old, they were judgmental. Like, why would I want to play with them bubbles? I was like, wow. They were like, or they're trying to direct the other kids. I'm like, wait a minute, this is my show. Let me do this.
That's because in the households that they come from, they're allowed to step out of a child's place.
Ooh, that's powerful. They don't, you know what, this is why I wanted to speak to you so badly because people don't hear this information any longer. And, you know, one of the things that is, and I may get in some flack because the state has stepped in. The state is telling people how to raise their children.
I know, and that's bad.
And that is bad because
yes, it is.
I remember when I was a child, which was quite a little while ago.
Well, imagine what it was like for me.
And I remember this on the east side over on Gratiot and Seminole.
Okay.
I remember my mother said, look, when you ride around the corner, when you cross the street, get off your bike, walk it across, look both ways and walk it across. So I thought to myself, ain't nobody seeing me. She ain't around here. And I actually stood up on my bike, looked down the street, no cars, and I zoomed right across, right? Get to my grandmother's house, which was 2 blocks away. By the time I stepped in the door, my mother said, I need you to come back home because I told you to get.
How'd she find out?
It was the neighborhood back then. It was a community.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
And everybody knew my mother's rules for me.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So by the time I went zipped across, somebody in the car went, hey.
Yeah.
He don't.
Yep. You would love Line of Serenity because I tell stories about all the things where we broke the rules. And one time my brother went to a neighbor to tell her that my mother wanted to borrow $2 to go. So he wanted to go to a baseball game. And so the neighbor called my mother. And then she told my brother, your mama wants you back home. He got it.
I bet he did.
She tore him up.
Well, you know,
never did that again.
And that's so strange. In this country, some of the things that we are experiencing is because there is something that has fallen through the cracks in respectability.
I think it's by design. I really do. I think it's by design. By they, I mean the powers that be, want disorder and disorganization everywhere so they can really ferment all kinds of mischief.
Yeah, that's weird to me because I have a cousin who's incarcerated and he tells me about
somebody.
Yeah. And he tells me about the horror. So basically the things that they tell us not to do is the things that are done to adults once they get them in the system. But this is a whole conversation by itself.
Emmett. I know, Emmett. It's really good to talk to people like you that understand the deepness of this crap.
But the other thing that, and this is what I want to get to because I'm going to venture off into this. There is something that is happening because I was married for 20 some odd years. I'm married again, but I was single for a little while. When I was a young man and I was single, I was the hunter. A couple of years ago when I got divorced, I found out I was the prey.
It's funny you say that. I just had an interview before yours.
Yes.
It was 2 women. And I told them how women have, well, not so much women, I think it's a whole society, has turned the whole hunted kind of concept on its head. Because now the women are saying they don't need the men. They go to sperm banks. I don't know what men are going to do. It's out of my realm. It's above my pay grade.
But you know what? Women are let me get this right, everybody. Like I was having this deep conversation with someone today and we were talking about the male-female relationships and the power shift that is occurring in this day and age. And I said, and she asked me, she's like, well, why are men such dogs? I was like, men aren't dogs. Men are running their program. And she was like, what do you mean they're running their program? I was like, okay, I'm going to put it to you this way. So let's say you got 50 women and 1 man. No, I say you got 50 men and 1 woman. And those are the last people on earth. I said, we're going to die out in about 50 years. I said, versus if you have 50 women and 1 man, we're going to keep going. And she was like, I never thought of it that way. I was like, men are trying to run that program instinctively. It's bigger than their conscious thoughts sometimes. And she was like, wow, that's pretty deep.
It is. But what I said to the ladies that I was on the interview with earlier today was, I look to the animal kingdom. You look at male, there is more polygamy than monogamy in the animal kingdom.
That is true.
And so, we are animals too, mammals. So we are of the animal kingdom. I think swans are monogamous.
I think
they mate for life.
I think whales are monogamous.
Yeah, I think they mate for life, but humans are not. And so that is, see, the thing about it is this. It's what I told the girls on the interview that I just did. The only thing about it is now there are sexual diseases.
Yes.
You can. I just read an article about gonorrhea now is a deadly disease. It can kill you in 3 or 4 days.
Yes, because it's mutated so many times.
Yeah. See. So, but now back in my day, we didn't even have to worry about that. We could just go to the doctor and get a shot of penicillin. It would kill everything, but not AIDS and not all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a whole different arena now. So back in our day, we didn't say cheat. See, the magic word is cheating on her or cheating on him. It's mostly cheating on her, though. We didn't use the word cheat. We just said messed around. And my boyfriend, when I was 13 years old, he had several other girlfriends. I knew it. We even talked to each other or whatever, So, but that's just the way it was. Men are going to be men. The animal kingdom. So it's all about, you know what? The peacock. Look at all that beautiful tail. Oh my God, it's beautiful. God made the male species beautiful. And the female was really like, if you ever seen a peahen, a peacock is one thing, that's the male. A peahen is another. The peahens are drab. They don't have all these pretty feathers and all that. And in most of the species, especially birds, the males are gorgeous and they do all kinds of dances to attract the female. But now as humans, we have almost taken that away from the men. I don't understand that. There's going to be a price to pay for this. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe you are absolutely correct. But you said the best way to keep a man is to let him go, among other things.
That's right.
So how did you come to that? And what prompted this wisdom to come forth from you?
See, another thing. See, I was 15 years old. My late mother-in-law said those words to me. The best way to keep a man is to let him go. Now, my mother actually modeled that. I never, ever heard her ask my daddy where he was going, what time he was going to come back, where he's been, nothing. She never said a word whenever he went out, And so these young girls nowadays, they texting him. They want to ask him where he's going, what time he's coming back. They text him or call him every half an hour or every hour or whatever. You don't do that kind of stuff. So I wrote this book. The best way to keep a man is to let him go. Now I was 15 when my mother-in-law told me that, and I saw my mother model that all my life until my father died in 1974. And so I wrote the book because I wanted to tell these young girls that's not the way you keep a man, and there are chapters in the book called different titles. So don't take man advice from a woman who has no man. That's one of the biggest ones because women listen to other women all the time, especially ones that don't have a man. Or you'll listen to a woman who talks about her man like a dog. Or you'll listen to a woman who doesn't have a man and she'll tell you to quit yours. Then guess what happens as soon as you quit it?
She take him.
That's right.
Oh, I am enjoying this. I am enjoying this. This is like conversations I haven't had in a long time.
Don't use sex as a weapon. That's another one.
But my wife and I were talking about this because I got this book, which is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Cause I drive a lot. And I was going through this book, and this book was describing me like nothing else. So I sent it to my wife, and she was like, I ain't got time to read this. This is like on a Sunday, right? Or Monday. I'm busy. I was like, oh, yeah, you are. I'm not going to stress you out. Cause I told her something. I'm only going to say it to you once. Cause I don't speak a lot. I speak what I need to say. Mm-hmm. And then I said it to her twice. Then she was like, oh, this must be real important. So, and I didn't say anything after that. And she got the book and she sent me a thing. She was like, I get it. She's like, everybody should read this book. I was like, everybody should, because women think men think like women. Men think women are not men.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I always explain it like, we're two different computers.
Yes.
Women are Macs, men are PCs. If you put them on the same network, they can do the same stuff, but they can't really talk to each other without an interpreter.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And And unless you know or unless one of them has a built-in interpreter, or both of them, it's going to be problems.
Yeah. Yes.
So, I do, and it's good that this wisdom is being passed down, because you're actually the age my mother would be if she was still living.
Okay.
And there was wisdom that they used to impart because they lived it, that I don't see imparted because they really had to live it. They really had to be in it, because today we have so many tools and distractions. People don't even court anymore. People don't, you can't even hear that term. People don't have a courtship anymore. What they do is they text each other, send each other pictures, see if that gets them aroused. They meet, mate, and they don't have a relationship. Mm-hmm. So they're not developing the wisdom they need to actually build a relationship. So this, books of this that you have related to family and relationships is really, really awesome. And what are your simple quotes? The name of the book is My Simple Quotes to Live By. Mm-hmm. And where did this come out of?
My Simple Quotes to Live By. I wrote that one in 2013. I got to look at my notes because I don't remember how many. I've written so many.
You've written a lot of books.
Yeah, I have. And I didn't have a clue that I was going to do it either. But My Simple Quotes to Live By, in 2000 and maybe 11 or 12, I had a coach that we bartered. So I was doing the coaching. She was doing coaching for me, and then I was helping her with her consulting business. Okay. So she told me that I should put some quotes on social media. And boy, I was intimidated by that proposal. Okay. But not even realizing that I coined my first quote when I was 15, Emmett. Didn't know that I was coining a quote. The school paper, the middle school that I graduated from, issued a school paper, and they asked all the graduating students to leave words of wisdom behind for the students that followed them. So I said, and I have the physical document of the school paper. One of my former classmates sent it to me from middle school. I've got a lot of long-term relationships, thank God. And so in it, I saw the quote that I said, "Never lose your hope and faith." That was what I said at 15. That quote has carried me through breast cancer. I'm an 8-year breast cancer survivor, a 7-year stroke survivor. I had a stroke that affected my speech, but people who talk to me tell me that they can't even tell that I had a stroke that affected my speech. Yeah. I know. I can tell because it's like a funnel, and there's so many words that are coming in it, and it only so many will come out.
Yeah.
So I can hear myself, I'm trying to, sometimes I struggle for words. But so then I coined another quote in 2013, and it was chosen out of over 5,000 entries for a 2013 women's calendar. And that quote states, "It's better to die chasing a dream never caught than to die never having chased the dream." I post that on social media regularly to encourage people to don't allow other people to squash their dreams. It's better for you to die chasing it than to lay there on your deathbed wishing you had. So,
I know that's absolutely true. Nothing like regret when you have nothing.
Yeah.
When it's done.
I know. So there's 100, and so back to my life coach. So she told me to start developing these quotes. So like I told you, I was really intimidated by it. And I ended up with 169 quotes, Emmett. 90 pages. Live your life from a place of love, fairness, and truth. Be a great guest. Your host should be sorry to see you leave.
You need to plaster that across every medium there is. Oh my, I'm not going to even talk about that.
Well, the books they're not expensive. They are $7.99 to $12.99. Line of Serenity is $12.99. My Simple Quotes to Live By is $7.99.
Oh. And you also have delved into this subject, which is really prevalent today. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it would be such a hot topic if people were raised differently with a different kind of skin, which is bullying.
I knew that's what you were going to say. Yeah.
I mean, because I hate to say it, like from where I was coming, I was an only child. Mm-hmm. And it was almost a rite of passage. You had to get through this because it gave me, on the east side was kind of rough. But some of the things that I see that people call bullying today, I wonder, maybe it's just my age, but I can't really identify it as bullying. Well,
it takes different forms. Even grown people are being bullied by grown people now.
Yes. And this is one of the things that which really frightens me is because people are taking their lives because they feel so.
I know. I just read something today, Emmett. 10 to 14-year-old suicides.
Yes, is on the rise.
Have tripled
yes.
in the decade, have tripled. So I wrote these 25 poems in 6 hours. It blew my mind because it's just like
it just flowed.
The universe just opened up to me and it poured out of me, Emmett. It just absolutely poured out of me.
But that's not the only book you wrote because you did Jet Black and Her 7 Friends.
Yes.
Which is dealing with the same or similar issue.
And that one, Jet Black and Her 7 Friends, is a fairy tale. It's about a little black girl who's being teased because she's so tall for her age and she doesn't want to go to school. She goes to sleep one night and she's taken on a magical journey. And it's all multi-ethnic. She has an Asian fairy godmother that wakes her up and takes her on this journey. Then there's a Hispanic, an Asian woman in a wheelchair who is a research scientist, I think. But all these different people are renowned. One is a judge that she takes her to, an overweight judge. So she says that they used to call her Fatty Patty. Now they call me Your Honor. See? I love that story. So that was Jet Black and Her 7 Friends. So it's 28 pages. It's $9.99 because it's hand illustrated in color. Oh, that's why it costs more than the others. $9.99. I want to read you a couple of poems from Dear Bully.
That's fine.
Okay. Dear Bully, and all of them start with Dear Bully. How did you feel when you heard that I had committed suicide? Did you laugh and shout with glee? Or did you want to run and hide? I was afraid to be in your presence. I was afraid when I heard your voice. I wanted to go to school each day, but your actions gave me no choice. Now I am gone and out of your reach, but this is not what I wanted. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was tired of being taunted.
And, like you said, so many people are taking their lives because they feel emotionally accosted, physically accosted, spiritually accosted.
Yes, everything.
And
just like they're just surrounded by ugliness.
And I wonder if that is just because of this society that we have in front of us that is two-dimensional versus having three-dimensional relationship. Because a three-dimensional relationship is a relationship that is human. And when I say human, there's a body in front of you. There is a spirit in that body. There is a thought process from that body. And I don't think people are connecting anymore. People see other people as objects versus other humans that are equal. Remember what I was telling you about do unto others? And some people like, because they don't see other people as equal or of the same value as them. Or maybe they see themselves less than the person that they're bullying. I mean, there's just so much psychology that's based in it to me. And it's frightening.
Yeah, it can be. It really can be. But see, I just leave it up to the universe. I don't have any control over it, other than to write the books that I write, So that's how I'm trying to reach people. And then I have one called The Vision, telling kids that they can make the world a better place. And they need to be told that. It's their world. It's going to be. And they need to have some say over it. That's why I love this Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is, that little teenager that's all into the climate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love seeing young people taking control of that as much as they can. Don't just sit by and watch the adults mess up your world. This is going to be a world that you're going to inherit. And so the vision, telling kids that they can make the world a better place. It starts out with, it's two slave children back in 18 something or other. And, they are talking at night. The little boy just got beaten because he wanted to learn how to read. And so they're in there talking about, and the little boy who got beat, he makes a comment about he hopes that all white people ain't mean and like this, And then the girl says that her sister has visions and she sees far, 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 far into the future. And she sees that it's going to be the year 2001 or something. Forgive me for that. I can't get all these things straight.
I understand.
I've so much. So, but then there's two contracts in it now. And back to the storyline. So her sister sees that in the future, Black kids especially aren't going to want to learn how to learn their reading, writing lessons and figuring. That's the way she puts it.
Yeah.
And so it's written in Black dialect.
Yeah.
So it has two contracts in it. So then she says also, how do they know in the future what we're going through because we want to learn how to read and write? We're getting beat because we want to learn and they're not even going to try, so she's incredulous at all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so she did see that later on in 2000, whatever year, the kids are going to take over. Now, I'm writing this in the hopes that it will cause the kids to take over.
Yeah.
Okay. So it has two contracts in it. And the book is written for children 8 to 16. And I put it up to 16 because 16 is typically the senior year of high school. You can turn it around in your senior year. So there's two contracts in here, one for home and one for school. It allows the children, the students, to save face while they change their behavior. It's a contract and it has to be signed and it tells when you're going to start, on what date, and improving in what areas. And then I have a box for everything. So you can check everything that you're going to improve in. And so the teacher has to sign it. 2 of your classmates have to sign it, and then for home, your parents or guardians have to sign it, your sibling, and you have to say, if I start to get mad at y'all, then y'all don't even pay no attention to me getting mad. So, but that's where and then it has a performance tracker, so they can track their performance for 5 weeks. It's 5 weeks or 7 weeks. Yes, I think it's 5 weeks. 5-week performance tracker. You can change your behavior, I think, in 5 weeks.
Oh, something crazy just happened.
I know there's a bug in my house. But yeah, so that's the vision.
So do you go out, do you speak at any workshops?
I have.
So
I have spoken.
What's the plan for the future?
My plan for the future is to get these books into as many hands of as many people as I possibly can. And you know, I'm really glad now that we have the internet, because I don't like to travel. I'm a homebody. There's
YouTube.
I know. That's why I said we got the internet. It includes everything. Yeah. So I post on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter every day.
And what's your handle on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter?
My handle is Joyce Fields on Facebook. On Instagram, it's JJ Fields 7, the number 7. JJ Fields, the number 7 on Instagram. Then on Twitter, it's @GoodShortBooks.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you. I really thank you for the opportunity. I love talking to you.
Hey, we're going to have to do it more. So,
okay.
And I'm really going to extend this invitation to you, because you know how to call my direct number. Anytime you say, Emmett, I got some things I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. You hit me.
Okay. All right. And I will do that.
Or you don't even have to do that. All you got to do is schedule it, because you know how to do that.
I do.
You schedule it, I'll be there. If something comes in the way, I'll be like, can we redo it another day? But I will make that happen.
Well, thank you very much, Emmett.
I mean, you have some information, because honestly, you come from a perspective that I really understand. And you come from a perspective that was a part of my life.
Uh-huh.
And geographically, we have a common bond. So some of that stuff is communal.
Yes, I understand.
And it's important for you and I are 2 generations, because you literally could be my mom.
How old did you say you were?
I'm 53.
Okay, 53. My son's 49.
Right. So literally, some of the wisdom that my mom, who's not here anymore, you've been imparting upon this show here. And it's so important for this generation to actually receive this information. So I extend that to you, and I thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you very much too, Emmett. I really appreciate it. I will send you something, soon. So I got a lot of stuff on my mind.
That's fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how nothing concludes, which means we don't conclude. We're just here for a time. We are here for the experience. We are human beings. HUE. Think about that. We are people.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Under the sun, we all have a color. There is nobody who's translucent. We are in the image of this being called man, or this entity called man. Mm-hmm. And at the end, there's the being. That's where all the problems start happening, because we want to be like somebody else. We don't want to be how we are now. But the thing is, it's about the experience. We are spiritual beings in a physical body. There was this thing in Star Trek that said, that identified the people on the starship as bags of mostly water, because that's pretty much what we are. That lets you know we are spiritual, because if you've ever seen somebody who's transitioned, you see that they're not there. So while you're here, make it the best experience possible. And when you get to one of those moments where it feels a little dark, it feels a little cold, it feels like you're at the end of your rope, remember, you have the ability, if you have just a tiny bit of rope left, to tie a knot there and keep hanging. Over time, sit there, relax, and recuperate so that you can pull yourself up and begin being again. Till next time, love you all. Peace.